Hi everyone, I'm Gautam aka the Seeker of Wisdom. I'm a manifestation coach, and in this video, we're going to be talking about how do you stop complicating the manifestation process. Now, before I do so, I'd like to remind you guys I am available for coaching, so I offer hourly, monthly, email, and DM coaching along with premium coaching right now, which is basically unlimited calls and unlimited DMs. So, the links for that will be in the description where you guys can either email me or DM me through Instagram for pricing information and to figure out what plans may be suitable for you. I'll also send you the FAQ page along with it, the up-to-date one. So I also have a Facebook group where I upload resources from time to time, as well as you guys can ask me questions anonymously if you wish to do so. Ensure that you answer the two questions and agree to the group rules. Otherwise, my moderators will decline you with feedback asking you to do the exact same thing. I also have a mailing list where I post articles from time to time, as well as my latest offers for coaching. And last but not least, I also have a Manifest Your SP bundle, which consists of the Manifest Your SP course, which is a big one, and a Remove Your Third Party course, which is a mini course, and 2 months of DMs, and along with 4 1 hour call sessions. So you can customize it in any way, use it in any order you guys want, and that's really a great way to kind of stretch and maximize it according to your needs in your manifestation journey with regards to your SP. I also have a newly launched self concept masterclass, which consists of a 2 day event where you guys are going through. Day one consists of like why things like why self concept is important and so on and so forth, and then day two consists of like more specifics like why how do you like develop self concept with regards to SP, money, career, and even college slash school, because I know there are some students out there. So if you guys need any information on that, be sure to DM me as well, guys. So without further ado, let's get to it. So this was a thought that I've been having for a while, and I was just thinking about this a couple of nights back, at the time of this recording, I guess, um, about why folks really complicate this. Because as a content creator, as a coach on Instagram or on YouTube for that matter, sometimes I do, or even in my FB group, I should say, I do get a lot of the same questions from the same people, um, and I've also seen you know certain questions being repeated in other forums as well, and I often wonder why, like why. And one thing that I've noticed is that they often complicate the whole situation. They tend to worry about factors that they shouldn't be worrying about. And for me it's obvious because I'm seeing it from an outsider's standpoint. Because I'm seeing it very clearly as to, okay, this is what they shouldn't be doing, this is what they should be doing, this is what they should be concerned about, this is what they shouldn't be concerned about. Those things are very clear to me as an outsider, right? But when you are in the heat of things, you may not understand that. But I feel that if you guys can take a step back, pull yourself out of the situation, right? Like, despite the fears, despite the desperation, just take a step back, calm yourself down, and try to view your situation from a very objective lens rather than viewing it very emotionally charged, if you will. Like, I feel like you'll make your life much much easier. Like, I feel like 9 times out of 10, when it comes to SP at least, the issue really comes when people you know think with, like, when their emotions are high, basically, right? Like, if they just calm themselves down and view their situations objectively, a lot of like complications will be removed, I feel. Like, like some people will tend to try to push the 3D, press the SPs for replies. That comes from being in a very emotionally charged state, right? Like, either you are in a state of fear or desperation and so on and so forth, right? So that leads me to my first point: is view things objectively, right? If you want something, okay, so this is what I want, okay, that's it. Like, I get it. Like, if I want it, I got it. So what do I want? I want to be in a happy loving relationship with my SP. I want XYZ job. I want this, right? go straight to the end as much as possible. You can manifest in steps, and I have, you know, told people to manifest in steps in certain cases where they just can't wrap their minds around, you know, how it will even, you know, start. So I was like, okay, baby steps, like break it down, manifest in steps if you have to. That's fine. But if you can, I highly encourage you to go straight to the end. That's how Neville did it. That's how a lot of coaches do it. It's much easier. You know, I always like, you know, think about the Pythagoras theorem triangle basically, right? So the hypotenuse is the shortest distance from one point to another point. It's a straight line. But whereas if you take the right angled route, right, you're going to be walking a longer distance to reach the exact same point. So that's how it is. Like manifesting in steps is like going from, you know, the right angle way, whereas it's like if you go straight to the end, you know, it's like going the hypotenuse kind of route. It's shorter, and you know, so you will get your manifestations, you know, in a much quicker way, and everybody's happy, right? So if you really want that, go straight to the end without thinking about the how, right? Disregarding the 3D in the meantime, of course. So it's like turning a blind eye to the 3D. What does Neville say, right? Come back to that, like disregard the evidences of your senses, right? And you know, look within, and you know, like focus on your inner world and assume the best as much as possible. That's how you manifest with ease, right? So go straight to the end. So look at it from an objective standpoint and go straight to the end, right? So those are ways you can, you know, really kind of you know, remove the complications, if you will. So what are the other things you can do? Stop repeating the old story, for God's sake, right? As I said earlier, like I've seen folks like repeat the old story so much, right? Like, and that only makes me think one thing. Like if they are repeating this much on the internet, right? What is actually going on in their mind? I can only imagine the extent of it, right? Because your mind has to be so saturated with it that you are typing paragraphs, right? And I'm not here to take a piss on anyone. Like that's not my objective, by the way. Just to make it clear, like I want to help you guys. Like I really want everyone to thrive, right? Like that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But you have to like you know, I have to show some tough love at times, when in the sense that like just having essays at one point or like rambling to anyone like isn't going to help at times. Like you know, and even the way I sift out information as a coach sometimes like is very different. Like when I see like chunks, like I read through it, but like for me, all those things that people think matters doesn't matter one bit. All I care about is, okay, who are you, right? Okay, so how do you see yourself with regards to your desire? What's your desire, and what's your perceived obstacle? That's it, right? That's pretty much what you need in order to kind of diagnose like a person, like in like from a manifesting context, right? And when you come at it from like that perspective, it's like, okay, if this person has an SP issue, but then they think like maybe 3P is in the way, or maybe circumstances is in the way, right? And the circumstances may be a little bit complicated, but they are circumstances nonetheless. So the question really is then, how do you get yourself to convince yourself that, okay, your desires are done deal and that the circumstances do not matter, right? So this is how simple it can be. But of course, you know, people are like, can this really be that simple? Can I really people are afraid to kind of surrender their control to their higher selves, right? They are willing to, you know, unwilling to let go of you know, the 3D sometimes, or whatever that they know. And I can understand that, but you have to understand at one point, when you have been complicating it, if you're losing sleep over this, if you're losing your peace of mind over this, you have a choice to make. And that is, I can continue in this route and continue my suffering, right? My mental, you know, like torture essentially that I'm giving myself. Or I can just surrender to my higher self, assume that it's already done, continue to see it in my inner world, and know that some way, somehow, this is already a done deal and that this has to happen, right? So this is, you know, another thing, right? Like, so don't complicate it, go straight to the end, you know, and really have faith. Give your control to your higher. Let your higher self handle things for you. Your higher self is like a genie, right? It's literally a freaking genie. Like, I can't emphasize that enough, right? Your higher self, like, it's really like that. Like, when Aladdin asks the genie for something, right? He doesn't care how the genie is going to bring to him. He's not going to be like, oh genie, but how are you going to bring me my palace, or how are you going to... He doesn't do that. Like, it just doesn't happen. You get what I mean? If you treat it like that, like, treat it like a spoiled brat, right? Like, okay, hey, I want this. How are you going to get it? That's your problem to figure it out, pal. Like, I want this. Your job is to go and get it for me. Do so, right? And see, this is the thing. Like, if one person said like this about the whole idea of manifestation or anything, and if you're skeptical about it, fair enough. But there are so many people out there who has been talking about this since the early 40s, the new age movement. Like, it has been going on for a while, and even prior to that, its roots can be traced back to so many different philosophies, right? This has weight. This works, right? The law of assumption works. Manifesting as a concept works. Your thoughts do create your reality, right? And you just only have to look at a person's life to kind of see the evidence for that. And I'm saying this because, like, some people are always very skeptical of this. And yeah, so the other thing which leads me to is comparing with others. God's sake, don't do that. Right? Time and time and time and again, I've been seeing this. I, as a person, like, if you know me, in my personal life, you will know that I don't give a damn about anyone else's life, right? Like, I rarely, like, actually I never, to be honest, like, compare myself with others, right? I wasn't always like this, but at this point where I'm at and in life, I don't compare. I used to compare myself a lot, like with my sibling, with my classmates or my friends and so on. But there came a point when I realized, like, my trajectory in life is so damn different that it would be unfair to me, it would be disrespectful to me to compare myself with someone else, because they didn't go through whatever that I did. Therefore, it is unfair of me to expect that we would end up in the same position, right? And so I stopped comparing myself, right? If someone gets it quicker than me, manifestation wise, great, good for them. I'm happy for them, because what that shows is a possibility for me, a potential that I can strive for, right? Like manifesting an SP in a day. Wouldn't that be great? Like, if someone does that, for God's sake, don't start fuming and complaining as to, okay, why isn't this happening for me, and go on a ramble or rant over that. Don't, right? See it, let it empower you, be happy for that person genuinely, and say that's a possibility there. If that person is me pushed out, this can happen for me too. Imagine, like, what if your SP comes knocking on your door tomorrow and telling you all the things that you want to hear? That's great, isn't it? What is preventing you from thinking that way, right? And that is the perspective I want you guys to kind of like embody from now, right? Don't be fuming when you see something like, okay, I'm manifesting, within a week or things like that. Why isn't this happening for me, right? Are you thinking favorably? Do you have a favorable mental diet? Do you keep checking the 3D? Are you complaining, right? Are you discussing it with others and taking their opinions, i.e. your besties, right? If you are, especially, I'm not being biased with genders, but if you're a lady and you have girl besties, right, who are not into manifesting, take their advices with a grain of salt, right? That's all I would say here, right? I'm not trying to, be biased towards any genders here, but if you have any female best friends, just be mindful of who you discuss it with, because I feel like that can really like take you away from your manifesting as well, right? So like, streamline this process. Like, I want you guys to streamline this to its bare bones, right? That's one way to really really make it simple and make your life so much easier. What do you want, right? Let's say it's $1 million. Great. $1 million, you got it, right? What do you do every single day? Assume that you already have those $1 million, see it in your mind, right? See your bank account being filled with $1 million. Persist in that assumption until through some way it comes to you. That's it, right? The only other thing you can do on top of this, I would say, is like having gratitude for it. Be grateful for it's already yours, right? Giving gratitude in advance, right, for a future event really, helps you put you in that end state, the state of the wish fulfilled. The reason why I'm using a quotation mark is there's no past, present, or future. Time is eternal, right? Everything is happening right now, simultaneously, right? And that's a concept that for us from this state of consciousness is very hard to wrap around, but in higher states of consciousness, it just clicks, right? If you are reading like Dr. Joe Dispenza's work and stuff like that, like you would read it. I think it's becoming supernatural. Yeah. So in the earlier chapters, he talks about that. So I'm still kind of reading the book at the moment. So he talks about that a lot as well. So I highly recommend you check out his work as well. It's great. I love it. Um, so yeah, these are the types of things, right? So you get when you give gratitude, you really put yourself in the end state, because if you have it already, that's what you will feel. You'll feel a lot of gratitude, and that really catalyzes the process as well. And assuming it as naturally as possible, in the sense that like assuming with like as though it's already yours, and like feeling it real in your mind, right? That's what I mean by making it as natural as possible. It's like feeling it as real as possible in your mind really hardens it into fact really quickly. So as long as you don't talk anything or don't think anything unfavorable or contradictory to your desires, and just keep persisting in the assumption that it's already yours, guys, it should be fine. And yes, go straight to the end and just keep assuming that. Don't think about the how. It's not your business. You don't have to figure out the route. You don't have to think about that. And there's also this camp of people that I really feel like I need to talk about. This came to my mind is I need a scientific explanation for this stuff for me to believe it in. Right? There's a bunch of people, like I don't know how big this group is, because I've not really seen it that often, but I do see them pop up from time to time, like the I need a scientific proof in order for me to believe. Like think about it, like before like Newton came around, we all knew gravity existed. But can you believe if someone came to you and said, I'm not going to believe in gravity until it's proven by science? Right? Like, I just can't. And this is the thing. I'm not like looking down on those people or anything like that, but it's just very funny to me. Like, you know, that there's evidence for it, to prove it. And there are, higher powers that are in play here that we can't fully see, right? But it does exist, right? And science is only now like trying to understand it using quantum physics and stuff like that. And I know, maybe a decade from now, even 2 decades from now, right, it's going to be at a point where like they're going to be proving a lot of those things. And I already talked about in one of my posts that went viral on Instagram, the positron post, right? Manifesting explained with science, right? Like it explains it as well, right? If you are interested in that, I'll link that post in the description below. So take a look at it. It's really interesting, and the words that's been mentioned there aren't my words. It's Neville's words based on a lecture or paper published by a scientist. So that's about as sciencey as this can get, right? So my point is this: like it does exist, right? It's a natural phenomenon that does exist. From personal experience, I can vouch for that, and I get why people would want scientific proof of that, but don't let that be the only thing that is stopping you from trying this out, or from letting you be convinced of this, if that makes sense. Because if that's the only thing, then honestly, like, why don't you just try it and feel it for yourself? Just try it. What are you going to lose, right? Like, what are you going to lose by imagining something favorable until it shows up? You're not going to lose anything. If you really think about it, you guys are not going to lose anything, right? So because you are imagining something nice for yourself, so what is there to lose? If you come at it from that perspective, like I feel like some of you might be more open to try it out. And you know I feel like, and if something clicks, like, okay, think about a specific colored car, or think about manifesting a free cup of coffee. Start small, right? And go from there. And that way, your faith gets cemented. It's If it works for the quote unquote small things, it works for the bigger things too. It's not different for anything else. So I really feel like, for those people in the science camp, just try it out. Just try it out and see. Because I feel like those people like really start thinking about the when and how this all works. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day, because even those people, right? Like I can bet 100% right now that as you're boarding the train, or as you're boarding the bus or a car, you don't really think, consciously, like, okay, how does this bus work, or how does this car work, or how does this engine perform, right? You're not sitting there and, telling the driver, you know what, I need a scientific explanation for how this car works, otherwise I'm not going to work. You don't do that, right? You just mute your mind and you just go in for the ride, right? That's the thing. Like, sometimes you just have to go with the flow. And I'm not saying like just dumb down your mind. I'm not saying that. Definitely explore that. Learn. Learn as much as you can. Absorb information as much as you can. But what I am saying is that, you can do that after manifesting too, right? Like you can kind of reverse engineer the whole thing, like once you have manifested it too, because maybe that may click more, easily for you, right? So that's why I'm like, just try it, see what works, right? You don't have to wrap your mind around it. Like what Neil deGrasse Tyson said, the universe is under no obligation to make sense to you, right? There are phenomenons in science that doesn't even make quote unquote sense, right? If you make a sound, a particle at the edge of the universe or something vibrates or something, like that's crazy. Like how does that happen, right? If I thought about it from a scientific perspective, even science can't explain a lot of things. Science can't explain why we dream. They know which parts of our brain is active when we dream, but they still don't know why we dream. See, that's why I really don't think, like, it holds a lot of ground when people tell me I need a scientific explanation for this, right? So my point is, cut the crap, right? Simplify this for yourself and just focus on what, is essential, which is, this is what I want, and I'm going to assume that this is already done until it shows up in my reality. That's it. These are like the bare bones of it. I'm breaking this down to you guys this simple because that's how a child thinks, right? And when I say it, like, this is how a child thinks, it's not to put any of you down per se, but it's more like that's how we actually were used to be, like when we were kids ourselves, right? When I wanted to be a pilot when I was a kid, or when I wanted to be an astronaut for NASA at one point, right? That's how I would imagine things, right? But like, as life went by, people started to say things, and it became like, oh, okay, so this has to be very complicated. But prior to that stage, there was that one stage in all of your lives, there exists that one stage, right, where you just imagine things, right? And you just let that possibility of it just like fill your mind and excite you, right? Where you start assuming that you already are that person, right? And you just let that permeate your mind and you just soak it all in. There was that part of you, and that part of you is still within you. And I want you to use that part of you more than the intellectual part of you, the logical part of you, right? So yeah, like really, like if I were to give you like a Star Trek analogy, like don't be like Spock, be more like Kirk, right? So yeah, guys, I'm gonna wrap this video up. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can. If this video resonated with you, be sure to drop a like and a comment down below. Turn on the bell notification so that you guys will know when I upload a new video every single week. So guys, thank you for watching. Stay safe and happy manifesting. Peace.